direction. To their everlasting credit, this careful planning was not to be in vain, for suddenly the infamous blow was struck. And when the green light for military movement was signaled on that fateful day in December, the American railroads became the supply lines to the battlefronts, the strong arm of the home front. With a well-trained, determined army of more than 1 million workers, they were of the very first to enlist in the common cause for the duration. The order that came flashing over the wires was short, but to the point. Move all available equipment to military bases without delay. Available crew was mustered, engineers, firemen, brakemen, men who willingly returned to work 2, in many instances 3 and 4 shifts, without thought of personal well-being. There was a job to be done, a job that had to be done, a job that would be done. And even before Congress could gather to declare a formal state of war to exist, the armed might of these free and indivisible United States was already gathering momentum. Rail equipment was backed onto sidings, awaiting only a signal from inspecting officers to receive their urgent cargoes. To get started rolling, let's hop aboard an incoming recruit train and meet Bill Mitchell, just another American youth on his way to become another important cog in the greatest army on earth. Uh-oh, there she blows. And that means just one thing to any bewildered inductee. He's really in the Army now. What's the trouble, Bill? Tired? Maybe you'd like to take a rest. You would? Well, just get yourself into one of those plush-lined taxi cabs, and the driver will be only too happy to drop you at your hotel. "20 miles out from the main camp is North Camp Hood. Here, over a period of 17 weeks, the newly arrived recruit receives his basic training. He spends hours on the range. Comes the order to move out, to get men and equipment loaded. Not a motion is wasted as heavy machines roll aboard and into position for the journey ahead. Wheels and tracks are blocked and secured. Complete kitchen equipment goes on. Personal belongings are loaded into freight cars. Men file aboard comfortable Pullman cars. With speed and precision, the train is loaded and ready to go, loaded with men and machines who mean business. They're going to maneuvers to gain practical experience in teamwork with other arms of the service, and then it will be overseas. Presents a typical example of the painstaking thoroughness of the United States Army in training its men, in equipping its forces. For these men are being given the best food, the best housing, the best weapons, the best training, the best leadership. Yes, the best of everything. And when they meet the enemy, they'll best him too. For men who are prepared to fight and who have something to fight for are invincible. Taxes go to help support well-trained superbly equipped fighting men to pile quickly hundreds of trains loaded with the world's finest soldiers, sailors, and Marines. Would the American railroads meet the strain of wartime traffic without delay or confusion? Railroad men know their jobs. They know those jobs well. In the first months of this globe-encircling conflict, they moved more men and more equipment, and with greater speed and efficiency than during the entire span of World War I. Greatest mass movement of troops and equipment in the history of this or any nation. Flat car after flat car, loaded with speed and precision. Utility cars, scout cars, heavy trucks, tanks, jeeps, peeps, tank destroyers. Hundreds of fighting vehicles rumbling endlessly. Countless tons of steel firepower rolling aboard and into riding position. There to be blocked and nailed and wired and secured by hands which had long trained for this very day. Thus the wheels of war are rolling, and there is no longer any question as to the ability or the determination of the American railroads to shoulder their share of the nation's tremendous war effort. Their achievements furnish the unalterable proof. But great as is the demand for the movement of troops and equipment, it still remains only a small part of the real job the railroads are doing. A job so big as to be almost beyond the bounds of human comprehension, the day-by-day mass movement of freight. Only a few years ago, there were those who said the railroads were through, that they belonged to an era fast receding. Well, today, they are literally the life of America, and every day, more than 40,000 trains are started moving, with Santa Fe alone operating as many as 1,800 trains every 24 hours. That's more than 75 trains an hour, a train every 48 seconds of the day and night, to sustain the life and economy on the home front, meanwhile meeting the heavy demands of the nation's war effort. An aircraft factory requires vital parts to maintain production schedules. It's railroads to get them there without delay. A shipyard is running short of steel plate. It's up to the railroads to get it there. There is an acute food shortage in an overcrowded defense area. It's up to the railroads. Those carloads of beef on the hoof, luscious big juicy steaks, and hides for... But not only must the railroads transport the bulk of the finished products to feed into the maw of this hungriest of all wars, to them also falls the vital task of supplying an uninterrupted stream of raw materials to the nation's widespread factories. Things past the 200,000 barrel a day figure, but at one crucial point, the railroads, proving they could meet any emergency, transported 1 million barrels a day. Out of the gaping expanses of open-pit mines comes King Copper. Huge mechanical shovels continually eat away at nature's seemingly inexhaustible supply, lifting 8 cubic yards with each ravenous bite. Then it's up to the railroads to get it moving to the smelters, where man again bests nature to extract the golden metal from the rich ore. And not only must the railroads deliver all of these essentials to the nation's factories without delay, they must get them all there at the right time. But all of this vast and steadily increasing traffic burden is not being handled without difficulties. In addition to the shortage of trained manpower, there is an even more acute shortage of equipment, without which this mighty stream of produce and products would lose momentum. With factories which formerly manufactured rails and equipment now geared to the production of weapons of war, it is no longer a question of will it run. Today, the nation's railroads have only one slogan: if it's got wheels, get it rolling. Before the war, it was customary to run old equipment onto dead tracks, there to be stored for use at some future date. Well, that future date is now, and dead tracks no longer have lines of rolling stock standing idle. Only by calling all usable equipment back into service can the job be done. Locomotives are high on the premium list, and no matter their condition, nothing is impossible. Look at this old slobber bucket, number 3723. She's just another of many locomotives which shop foremen and dismantlers daily start on the road to recovery. But where once there were ample supplies of new parts, today nothing is being wasted or discarded. Each and every one of the engine's 25,000 odd units is carefully marked to ensure proper and speedy repair and replacement. Then each of the various parts is inspected and sent to the shops where machines and the skill of experienced workmen do the impossible, cutting, grinding, reshaping and rebuilding each worn unit back to unbelievable newness and efficiency. Removed and replaced. Acetylene torches cut away and repair all flaws inside the huge boilers. Piston housings are rebored to ensure driving power once the locomotive returns to the rails. And huge wheels, worn and flat from thousands of miles of hard running, are cleaned and dipped and sprayed and lifted again into the shops, where new tires are fitted securely by expanding temperatures. And on throughout the length and breadth of teeming Santa Fe shops. Cleburne to Topeka to Richmond, from Albuquerque to San Bernardino and Chicago. Modern miracles of reconstruction and rehabilitation are daily being performed with speed and efficiency heretofore thought impossible. Not only returning to the road equipment which was not too long ago regarded as being irretrievable, but also keeping all other equipment in perfect running condition for the performance of the given task. For locomotives are not the only type of equipment which must be repaired and rebuilt. Look in any car shop and you'll see lines of old gondolas and refrigerator cars and boxcars being torn down, rebuilt, and painted to bring them back into immediate service. Look into any foundry where rumbling machines respond to the skilled will of their operators, ever hammering, ever cutting, ever shaping old parts to new, and then melting down what remains to pour and mold again. Look into the metal shops and see sheer weight and deft manipulation shape thick steel as though it might well be the thinness of tinfoil, and gears which must be ground to within 1,000th of an inch, and valves and gauges and air brake meters. In each and every department the story is the same. This is a war of movement. Let's keep 'em rolling. But let us not neglect the unsung heroes who are always credit to the tower men who direct the constant flow of heavy traffic, to the bridge crews who daily construct and repair important spans over deep and yawning defiles, to the conductors for their patience and ingenuity, to the local station agent whose day is endless, to the busy ticket salesman and his problems, to the dispatchers who keep the trains rolling on schedule, to the thoroughness of the signal maintainers, to the efficiency of the telegraphers, and to those other thousands of tireless workers, high and low, too numerous to mention. Give the railroad man his due, for each and every one on his own is an important cog which must function smoothly, else confusion and disaster result. Did I hear? Yes, the wheels of American railroads are winning as important and as tough a battle as a victory has been won. The American railroads will have an even more important job, for it will be theirs to carry the bounties of a... Did this nation possess adequate transportation facilities? Would Santa Fe shoulder her share of the tremendous burden? Well, if ever anyone could take justifiable pride in contribution to the peace and decencies of mankind, it is the men and the wheels of the American railroads. It is the wheels and the men of Santa Fe. Let them face the sun and hold their heads ever high, for theirs is a glorious achievement.